It was 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when Officer Mike Brennan noticed the BMW. 8 years on the force had taught him to trust his instincts, and his instincts told him something was off. The patrol car's lights flashed to life, painting the quiet suburban street in alternating blues and reds. The BMW's brake lights glowed as it smoothly pulled to the curb. "Dispatch, I've got a 1038 black BMW, license plate Romeo Echo 7294, corner of Elm and Riverside Boulevard," Brennan spoke into his radio. Judge Valerie Harrison took a slow breath, her hands remaining visible on the steering wheel. She'd been through this before. After 15 years as a prosecutor and 5 years on the bench, she knew the script. The flashlight beam cut through her window, followed by Officer Brennan's face. He was young, maybe early 30s, with the kind of square jaw that suggested he took himself very seriously. "License and registration," he commanded. "No good evening. No, do you know why I stopped you? Just a command." "Good evening, officer. May I ask why I was pulled over?" Judge Harrison responded calmly. "License and registration, ma'am." "Now?" Brennan repeated with a slight edge in his voice. Judge Harrison reached slowly for her purse, narrating her movements. "I'm reaching for my purse on the passenger seat. My license is in my wallet." Brennan examined her documents with theatrical suspicion, his flashlight lingering on every detail as if expecting forgery. "This your car?" he asked. "Yes, it is." "You live around here?" "2 blocks away, Maple Grove Court." "Uh-huh. What are you doing in this neighborhood?" His skepticism was palpable. "As I said, I live here. I'm returning home from work." Judge Harrison maintained her measured tone. "What kind of work you do?" There it was, the question that had nothing to do with traffic violations and everything to do with a black woman in a luxury car in a wealthy neighborhood. "I work for the county." "Officer, with respect, can you tell me the reason for this stop?" "You failed to signal when you turned back there." "Officer, I used my signal. I always do," she replied calmly. "Are you arguing with me?" "I'm not arguing. I'm stating a fact. I signaled that turn." Brennan's hand moved to his hip. "Step out of the vehicle." "I'd like to know the legal basis for—" "I'm not asking. Step out of the vehicle, now." Judge Harrison's pulse quickened. She'd issued rulings on cases exactly like this. She knew the law. She knew her rights. But she also knew that knowledge doesn't always protect you when you're a black woman facing a white officer with a badge and a gun. Judge Harrison exited her vehicle with deliberate care, keeping her movements slow and visible. "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to go?" she asked. "Don't get smart with me. I'm asking a legal question that I'm entitled to ask." "You want to talk about legal? How about obstruction? How about resisting?" "I haven't resisted anything. I've complied with every lawful order." She reached into her jacket pocket. Brennan's hand flew to his weapon. "Hands where I can see them!" he shouted. Judge Harrison's hand shot up immediately. "My phone. I'm retrieving my phone to record this interaction, which is my constitutional right." Officer Brennan called for backup. What started as a routine traffic stop was now being treated as a potential threat situation. All because a woman asked questions. 2 additional patrol cars arrived within 3 minutes. Officers Martinez and Chen stepped out, assessing the situation. "Subject is being non-compliant and aggressive, refused to provide proper identification," Brennan told them. "That's not true. I provided my license and registration immediately," Judge Harrison stated firmly. "Ma'am, if you could just calm down," Officer Martinez began. "I am calm. I've been calm this entire time. What I haven't been is silent." "I'm going to search your vehicle," Brennan announced. "On what grounds? You have no probable cause." "I smell marijuana." Judge Harrison's anger was controlled but evident. "That's a lie. I don't use marijuana. I've never used marijuana." "Brennan, maybe we should—" Officer Chen tried quietly. "I'm the primary on this stop, Chen." Brennan cut him off. Judge Harrison watched as Brennan rifled through her car. Her briefcase, her gym bag, the groceries in her trunk. looking for anything he could use to justify what he'd already decided to do. He found nothing. Of course, he found nothing. "Turn around. Hands behind your back," Brennan ordered. "On what charge?" "Resisting arrest, obstruction of justice, and disorderly conduct." "This is unlawful. I haven't resisted anything. I want your badge numbers, all of you." The handcuffs clicked shut, cold metal against skin. Judge Valerie Harrison, who had sentenced hundreds of defendants, who had sworn in police officers, who had dedicated her life to justice, was under arrest. "I'm a judge. I'm Judge Valerie Harrison from the County Superior Court, and this is an unlawful arrest." Brennan let out a dismissive laugh. "Sure you are, and I'm the governor." "Ma'am, you can explain everything at the station," Officer Martinez said uncomfortably. The ride to the station took 12 minutes. 12 minutes of silence, except for the radio chatter. 12 minutes for Valerie Harrison to process what was happening, not as a judge, but as a black woman who had just experienced what she'd only seen from the other side of the bench. She didn't cry. She was too angry to cry. And beneath the anger was something else, determination. Because she knew exactly what happens next, and it wouldn't be what Officer Brennan expected. The booking area of the Riverside Police Department smelled like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Sergeant Davis, a 20-year veteran with gray at his temples, sat behind the desk processing paperwork. "Name?" he asked with routine boredom. "Valerie Ann Harrison." "Address?" 4156 Maple Grove Court. "Occupation?" "Judge, County Superior Court, 5th District." The typing stopped. Sergeant Davis looked up slowly. "I'm sorry, what?" "I'm a Superior Court judge, have been for 5 years. Before that I was a prosecutor in this county for 15 years, she stated clearly. Sergeant Davis's face drained of color. He knew exactly who Judge Harrison was. He testified in her courtroom, twice. "Your Honor, Jesus Christ, who arrested you?" He stood quickly. "Officer Brennan, badge number 2847. Officers Martinez and Chen were also present." "Where's Brennan? Someone get Lieutenant Foster down here. Now!" Sergeant Davis called out. The booking area erupted into controlled chaos. Officers who were lounging suddenly found pressing business elsewhere. The casual atmosphere evaporated. Officer Brennan entered the booking area with his arrest report, his confident stride faltering as he saw the crowd gathered around the desk. "What's going on?" he asked. "You arrested Judge Harrison," Sergeant Davis said, ice in his voice. "Who?" "Judge Valerie Harrison, Superior Court. You arrested a sitting judge, you absolute idiot." The paper in Brennan's hand trembled slightly. His eyes found Judge Harrison's face, and for the first time all night, he really saw her. Not as a threat, not as a suspect, as someone he'd made a catastrophic mistake with. I didn't know." Would it have mattered? Should it matter? "Do my rights only exist because of my position?" Judge Harrison asked in a measured tone. Lieutenant Carol Foster had been with the department for 23 years. She'd handled officer-involved shootings, corruption scandals, and public relations nightmares. But the expression on her face suggested this might be the worst situation she'd encountered. "Get those cuffs off her, now!" The handcuffs were removed. Judge Harrison rubbed her wrists, maintaining her composure even as her arms ached. "Your Honor, on behalf of the Riverside Police Department, I apologize for—" Don't apologize, not yet," Judge Harrison cut her off. "First, I want to see the dashcam footage from all 3 patrol cars. I want copies sent to my attorney. I want the incident reports, and I want every officer involved in this stop to provide written statements." The footage told the story clearly. A woman complying with every legal order, a woman asserting her constitutional rights, and an officer escalating a routine traffic stop into an arrest with no legal justification. They watched in silence. Every question Judge Harrison asked was reasonable. Every response from Officer Brennan was aggressive. The lie about marijuana was captured on audio. The illegal search was documented in high definition. "She didn't do anything wrong," Officer Chen said quietly. "No, she didn't." Lieutenant Foster confirmed. Judge Harrison stood at the head of the conference table. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. This looked exactly like her courtroom, except she was the one who'd been arrested. "Officer Brennan, you pulled me over for allegedly failing to signal. The dashcam footage shows my turn signal activated. You want to explain that?" Brennan looked at the table. I thought I saw—" "You thought? Or you saw a black woman in an expensive car and decided she must be somewhere she doesn't belong? That's not— I don't— You demanded I exit my vehicle with no articulable reason. You conducted an illegal search of my property. You fabricated probable cause by claiming you smelled marijuana. And when I exercised my constitutional rights I've spent my entire career defending, you arrested me for it. I'm not special. I'm not unique. What happened to me tonight happens to black people every single day in this country. The only difference is that I have the education and resources to fight back. Most people don't. Your Honor, we take these allegations very seriously," Lieutenant Foster began. "Do you? Because I've seen hundreds of cases like this come through my courtroom. Police stops based on nothing but bias. Arrests with no probable cause. Rights violated because someone thought they could get away with it. And you know what the defense always says? The officer feared for their safety. The suspect was non-compliant. There must have been a misunderstanding." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I wasn't a threat tonight. I was polite. I was calm. And I knew exactly what my rights were. And I still ended up in handcuffs. Now imagine someone who doesn't have my education. Someone who doesn't know the law, someone who panics when 3 squad cars show up. What happens to them?" "What do you want from us, Your Honor?" Lieutenant Foster asked. "Justice. Real justice. Officer Brennan will be suspended pending a full investigation. I'll be filing a formal complaint with Internal Affairs and the Police Commission. I'll also be filing a civil rights lawsuit against this department." "I made a mistake. People make mistakes," Brennan said desperately. Judge Harrison turned to him. "Yes, they do. And there are consequences for those mistakes. I've watched you in my courtroom, Officer Brennan. 3 times you've testified. Each time you were professional, articulate, credible. You helped secure convictions. But now I have to wonder, were those stops legitimate? Or were they like mine, based on bias and assumption? Those were different, were they? Or were those defendants just less equipped to challenge you?" Judge Valerie Harrison left the Riverside Police Department at 11:43 p.m. No charges were filed. Her arrest record would be expunged. But the experience couldn't be erased. She walked to her car, which had been towed and was now waiting in the station lot. Her hand shook as she unlocked the door. Only now, alone, did she let herself feel the full weight of what happened. She called her husband. "Marcus, I need you to listen. I'm okay, but something happened." Her voice finally broke. The composure she'd maintained through the entire ordeal shattered. "They arrested me. The police. I didn't do anything wrong, but they put me in handcuffs like I was—" "What? Where are you? Are you hurt?" Marcus's voice was alarmed. "I'm at the police station. I'm fine. Physically, I'm fine. But Marcus, for the first time in my life, I understood. Really understood. What it feels like to know the law doesn't protect you, that your rights are just words on paper when someone with a badge decides otherwise." Valerie Harrison didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table, replaying every moment, every word, every decision. She opened her laptop and began typing. A formal complaint, a detailed account of every violation, but also something else. A proposal for police reform training to be implemented county-wide. "If this happened to me, a judge, imagine what happens to everyone else," she said to herself. 3 days later, Judge Harrison held a press conference. She could have stayed quiet, settled privately, moved on. Instead, she spoke publicly. "I'm coming forward not because I'm special, but because I'm not. What happened to me happens to countless people who don't have the platform I have. This isn't about one bad officer. It's about a system that allows this to happen. A reporter asked, "Will you be seeking charges against Officer Brennan?" "I'm seeking something more important than revenge. I'm seeking change." Judge Harrison returned to her courtroom the following week. The first case on her docket was a motion to suppress evidence from a traffic stop. The defendant was a young black man. The arresting officer claimed probable cause based on suspicious behavior. Judge Harrison read through the case file with new eyes. She'd read thousands of these files before, but now she saw them differently. "Your Honor, my client was pulled over for allegedly making an improper lane change. The dashcam footage shows no such violation. The officer then claimed he smelled marijuana, justifying a search. No drugs were found," the defense attorney explained. It was almost identical to what happened to her. "Officer Chen, you're the arresting officer in this case?" "Yes, Your Honor." Officer Chen stood. He was the same Officer Chen who was present at her arrest. Their eyes met. There was recognition, understanding. "And you maintain that you had probable cause for this stop?" Officer Chen paused. "Your Honor, I'm requesting permission to approach." At the bench, he spoke quietly. "I've been thinking about that night, with you. I stood there and watched it happen, and I didn't say anything. I didn't stop it. This case, it's the same thing, and I can't do it anymore." Judge Harrison addressed the full courtroom. "The motion to suppress is granted. The traffic stop lacked probable cause. The search was unconstitutional. All evidence obtained from this illegal stop is inadmissible." She looked directly at the prosecutor. "And I'm ordering the district attorney's office to review all arrests made by this officer in the past 3 years. If this pattern exists elsewhere, those cases need to be re-examined." "Your Honor, that's highly unusual," the prosecutor objected. "So is being illegally arrested while driving home from work. Sometimes unusual circumstances require unusual remedies." Officer Mike Brennan resigned from the Riverside Police Department 2 weeks after the incident. He faced potential criminal charges for false arrest, filing a false report, and deprivation of rights under color of law. The investigation revealed a pattern. 15 traffic stops in the past year, 12 of them involving black or Hispanic drivers in affluent neighborhoods. 7 illegal searches, 5 arrests with questionable probable cause. But Judge Harrison didn't stop with one officer. She pushed for systemic change. The new policy required all officers to state the reason for a traffic stop immediately, activate body cameras before approaching a vehicle, document any consent for searches in writing, complete bias training annually, and face automatic review for any pattern of stops in affluent neighborhoods. These aren't radical proposals. They're basic accountability measures. If officers are doing their jobs correctly, they have nothing to fear from transparency, she told the police commission. Word spread quickly. Judge Harrison began receiving calls, emails, letters from people who had experienced similar stops but didn't know how to fight back. "They pulled me over 6 times last year, same neighborhood. Never gave me a real reason," one community member shared. "My son was arrested for matching a description. He was released after 8 hours. No apology, no explanation," another added. Judge Harrison listened to each story, and with each one, her resolve strengthened. 6 months after her arrest, Judge Harrison did something unexpected. She agreed to train police officers. "I'm not here to tell you that you're all racist. I'm not here to say that policing is easy. I'm here to share what it feels like to be on the other side of that badge." She told her story, every detail. The young officers in the room shifted uncomfortably. Some of the veterans nodded in recognition. "Some of you are thinking, 'I would never do that.'" But Officer Brennan probably thought the same thing. Bias isn't always conscious. It's not always intentional, but it's still harmful, and it's still your responsibility to confront it. 1 year after that night on Elm and Riverside Boulevard, much had changed. Traffic stops in Riverside County were down 30%. Complaints of racial profiling dropped by 45%. Use of force incidents decreased, but the most significant change wasn't statistical. Judge Harrison received a letter. It was from a young black man who'd been stopped 3 times in 2 months. After the policy changes, he hadn't been stopped once. The letter read, "I used to tense up every time I saw police lights. My heart would race. I'd panic. Now I just drive. Thank you for fighting for people you'll never meet. Thank you for using your voice. Thank you for not staying silent." Judge Harrison folded the letter carefully and placed it in her desk drawer, next to the arrest report from that night. 2 documents, 2 very different stories. Sometimes Judge Harrison still drives past the spot where it happened, corner of Elm and Riverside Boulevard. And sometimes, just sometimes, she sees a police car pull behind her. Her hands don't shake anymore. Her heart doesn't race. She knows her rights. She always did. But now more officers do too. They arrested me because they thought they could, because they'd done it before without consequence, because my rights only mattered if they decided they mattered. She paused. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't just any woman they pulled over that night. I was someone who understood the system, someone who had the power to change it. And I did. Another pause. But the real question isn't what happened to me. It's what happens to everyone else. Because justice shouldn't depend on who you are. It should depend on what's right. And that brings us to the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another drop from the Fiend Files. Tell me where you're watching from. Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Miami, Florida, or anywhere else across the world. I always love seeing where the Fiend family is tuning in from. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.